How to time an industry. The 5 phases of an industry. The one key tip to make sure that your timing is perfect, or as perfect as it can be. So in any industry, whether it's donuts or doorknobs, technology, software, or surfboards, you will always see the same 5 phases of the industry. And depending on what your strategy is or what your service is within that industry, you always want to try to get the timing as perfect as you can. But the purpose for today's video is to go through what those 5 phases are so that as we're seeing industries consolidate and aggregate, we can at least say, okay, that's where it is now and this is where it's headed. So the first phase is a new service, product, or offering. Something new, something special, something that hasn't happened before, new innovation comes out, right? And so whether it was a dating app or steel, right? When it first came out, it was something new and in its infancy, and that's oftentimes where in the modern venture capital economy or marketplace or ecosystem, you'll see capital come in. The second phase is where multiple participants come in. So the first person that comes out there is just selling this product, service, or offering. They're kind of by themselves. They can make whatever price they want, but then more and more market participants come in because they say, hey, there's money to be made doing this thing or providing this service. And what you'll see is you have oftentimes too many participants come in and they start undercutting one another, right? Well, for $1 you could come to the carnival. Well, for $1 you could come to the carnival and get a free hot dog. Well, for $1 you could come to the carnival, get a free hot dog, and listen to the band, right? And so in any industry, you start seeing that overpouring, that overcommitment. The Netflix, get one membership and have 50 family members all use it, right? And the race to the bottom, if you will. Leading to the third phase, which we call the washout and stabilization. And so in this phase, you start seeing the cream rise to the top, the separating of the wheat from the chaff, the prospects from the suspects, whatever analogies we want to use. However, what's taking place is those that cannot survive are eliminated or removed. Those that can economically continue will, and then you will see them start to ratchet up the price, the cost, like we're seeing in the streaming ecosystem or other industries. You start to see price start to creep back up and stabilize in a way that ultimately will produce a profit for that company. Look, it's taken 25 years or whatever it may be, but you're starting to see that even with an Amazon, right? Once the market share is there and attained, you then start to see the pricing ratchet back up to a level that's stabilized and to an extent predictable. And so after this washout and stabilization, phase 4 is the aggregation or consolidation in industry. And so whether it was oil refining with John Rockefeller, you saw tons and tons of independent oil refineries pop up throughout the country, a washout and the race to the bottom, and then the inevitable consolidation of regional players, people that can now compete on scale. They can be profitable, yet can offer better prices to an end client because they have economies of scale relative to purchasing power, relative to pricing power, operating leverage, all things we've discussed in other videos. And then the last phase is kind of the end game of that consolidation or aggregation, which is a handful of very large players in a space with then a few upstarts coming up every few years that are innovative, that are dealing with a new niche, that are kind of working with a separate component or underserved part of that community that ultimately get acquired by one of the very large guys. And so you'll see the giant manufacturing companies of the Honeywells, the Danahers, the people like that, where ultimately they are out there doing tons and tons of commodity-driven or price-driven work, but then eventually acquiring this company that does this one specialization, this company that does this one specialized product. And you see it in all different industries, but that's ultimately kind of the end game of all industries. And so people say, oh, it's too bad that there's not too many small participants in this industry. Oh, it's too bad that there's not many the independents like there used to be in whatever industry it could be. I mean, it could be software, or it could be sausage manufacturing. I know we have a lot of alliteration in this video, but point being is in every industry it happens the same way. So it's not that it's good or it's bad, it just is, right? That's the way the world has always evolved. That's the way the economy has always evolved. That's the way any industry will always evolve. And so the key tip or the takeaway from these 5 phases is to acknowledge where it is and see how it lines up with your strategy. What is your service? What is your offering, right? If you are a company that provides services to startup companies, do you really want to be in the oil tanker business? Do you really want to be in the corrugated cardboard manufacturing business, right? These are old line businesses that have been around for 100 years, right? On the other hand, if your service is like our services, right? Helping companies sell themselves, helping companies secure capital to effectuate a lot of this aggregation. We look at businesses that are in that consolidation phase where they are not startups anymore, where the washout has already taken place and where an industry is further and further consolidating, whether generationally or just because of industry-driven factors. But that's what we look for because that's where our service is most pertinent. So the takeaway from all of this is there's 5 phases to every industry, from kind of upstart to fully consolidated. And within those, you want to look at what your product, service, or offering is and how does it line up with the phases, and does it line up, and whether that should be an industry that you target. So that's a thought for today. How to time an industry, 5 phases, 1 key takeaway. Hope the week's off to a good start for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless. See you next time.